Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Out on That Line, the podcast. And we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be giving our reactions, our recap, our many thoughts on the Super Bowl halftime show featuring Bad Bunny and also some surprise treat guests that were in there. We're going to cover the whole thing, but first, got to introduce the man himself is my co-host, Jeff. Jeff, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm looking forward to talking about this. The surprise guests, just one little tiny aspect of the whole Super Bowl halftime show extravaganza and experience. Um, and there was also another option you had to watch something at halftime, and I'm not talking about the Puppy Bowl, Alex.
No, and you use the term option. I think you ought to use it very loosely. It was more like a threat. And boy, do I have a lot to say about that one from behind enemy lines, but we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There, I really, there was obviously so much noise about Bad Bunny doing this halftime show, and people going on and on about how it's not an English speaking person, and it was funny to me that like people got this upset about Bad Bunny because he is a U.S. citizen, like he's from Puerto Rico, so he's a U.S. citizen. And we have had in just like the last half decade, I think three different artists that were not born here either perform at the Super Bowl, including in that like their argument about it being a Spanish language artist. It's like we literally just had Shakira like a few years ago
Right.
and did a song in Spanish. So I don't remember people being upset about Shakira doing that, or I don't remember really hearing anybody griping about that too much anyways. So it's just that the amount of noise involved for a halftime show, and it's like all I could think about when they announced him, it as a this is going to be a great show. Like that's literally all I thought about. I did not even care about which language he was going to be singing in.
Well, and that's the thing is you knew it was going to be spectacle, because that's what it's supposed to be. This notion that like, well, the halftime show has always been family friendly. It's like that's kind of a Berenstain Bears type thing with you, my friend. I think you've got these fond memories of it before the times changed. So we all lost our innocence when Janet Jackson whipped out a titty on TV. We'll never forget. It was like when Kennedy got shot. The good one, not this one. But it's you knew it was going to be spectacle and entertainment, and it was going to have the dance, the flash, the costume, the pageantry, like they always do. But then there's this idea of like, well, it's going to be politicized. Walk that one out for me. Why is that a political pick?
Mhm.
When you strip it down, what it is, and I don't mean to be cynical about this, but the NFL is trying to expand internationally. It's
Mhm.
probably not going to be super long before we have a team in Mexico City and London. And so, like, the league is making a hard push into the rest of the world, especially Latin America and the Caribbean.
Mhm.
And that's a huge market for them. So it would make sense that you would get someone who is huge there because you can make the argument that like, well, Bad Bunny isn't necessarily as like popular or pervasive in the United States as so and so, as Chapel Roan, as Kendrick
Mhm.
Lamar. But that's kind of besides the point. He's a global superstar. So in that sense, if you don't know him and this is your first time seeing him, this is a great first impression. If you know him, you're going to enjoy it. This idea of it being politicized just because of like things he has come out and said, if you look at his history of like controversial political statements that he's made, most of them are focused on Puerto Rico specifically,
Mhm.
like criticizing the governor of Puerto Rico and like corruption there and the Trump's response to the hurricane and parts of the island still being in like perpetual darkness. That's what the electrical worker
Mhm.
dance was about. So, I mean, like, you got a show that was loaded in symbolism and subtext with that kind of stuff without being a middle finger. He didn't say fuck ICE. He didn't say fuck
Yeah.
Trump. He didn't do any of that. The politicizing of it came before anyone knew anything about Bad Bunny and persisted long after the fact when the evidence was right there and they just chose not to look.
And
I'm sorry, I'm taking more of a political tack with this than like, how was the show?
no, so and I think because it's all part of it, right? I think just talking about the show, while we are a music podcast, I think it's we're not naive to politics in the world. We both actively think about and talk about that kind of stuff a lot. So I don't think it's out of left field to think about how a global superstar music artist is affecting US politics in a place that we live. So I don't think it's out of left field or out of bounds at all to talk about this stuff. And hopefully it gives people an idea about maybe a different point of view they haven't heard. Maybe all they've been hearing is how terrible and how offensive it is that they had this guy perform at the halftime show. And maybe it's good to hear some folks say we don't mind it, and in fact it was a great time. It was a wonderful show. The You mentioned the subtext and the symbolism, and I think this is where we can like talk about the actual content of the show, because it was again, there was a lot of there were political expressions happening in the show, but again, it was like you said, focus on Puerto Rico, and the plight of immigrants, and kind of the idea of being part of the United States but not really being considered part of the United States. The towards the end, when he kind of did the we are, as America, we are together, we are America, I think is what the football said that he held up. And he had the flag from every South American, Central American, North American country, because together it's all of the Americas. And I thought that was, I think, because he chose to point at unity and saying, let's just build the tent for everybody, instead of just trying to make it, there was nothing antagonistic about it. There was nothing I felt like was him trying to push an agenda other than, we all need to coexist. Like, can we just do it peacefully? There's a way for all of us to get the things we need out of life. And can we just all please do that? I really enjoyed, so that was kind of a really broad thing about the Puerto Rican people, but I do really like the kind of personal touches he did, like handing the Grammy to like his younger self. Like, that was a really cool moment. And you could tell it meant something to him. And I think overall, the main thing I get from Bad Bunny, like whatever venue I've seen him in, whether it's him performing, him like in the Happy Gilmore 2 movie, him on SNL, like he's been in a bunch of stuff at this point. But we always talk about the word authenticity. I think that is what screams true most of all with Bad Bunny. Is you get all this theatrical stuff, these kind of larger than life songs, and he kind of puts on this larger than life personality when he's performing, but it just doesn't ever feel like he's lying to you. It feels like everything he's saying is something he truly feels. He's not trying to pander whatsoever. And I've had to look up like translations of the lyrics and stuff, and I know it loses some of the magic when you do that, because he wrote them in Spanish, but at least to get an idea of what he was saying. And I think his ability to, make things personal, but also be relatable. I think the only thing that makes that possible is being authentic. And I think the show that he put on, the stories he chose to tell and the people he chose to like highlight, I think really just spoke volumes.
I think the whole thing was a celebration, and you feel kind of like twee and corny to be like, it was joyous and a celebration of joy. But it was high energy, and he had his cake and ate it too, because it was a tribute to his Puerto Rican heritage. It's because Puerto Rico is part of America, it is by extension a tribute to America. You get
Mhm.
to see the Puerto Rican experience in New York City, and then like back in the sugarcane fields back home. And he really found a way to like kind of, like you said, make it relatable and like seamlessly blend all these different aspects of American culture up
Mhm.
and down the hemisphere. And if you look at it and go, no, the halftime show takes place in America, I demand that the halftime show be about America and be in English, the official language of the United States, which is not a thing. And also Spanish, second most spoken language in the 50
Mhm.
million Spanish speakers in the country. But whatever, I digress.
Mhm.
if you take the hard line that like it's an American game and it needs to be an American show, I don't understand. Like, no one is asking you to like give up your fealty to the United States of America. It's like, why can't Canada, the United States, Mexico, Central America, and South America, why can't we all be proud to be Americans? No, Bad Bunny and nobody else is conflating like we're taking away your US patriotism and making you submit to the uniparty or some weird conspiratorial thing. It was a perfectly lovely, innocuous gesture to say we're all together. The banner behind him, love is stronger than hate. Together we are America on the football. He didn't wear a dress. He didn't say fuck ICE. He didn't burn the American flag. The lies on this man's name. The fucking lies on this man's name. Someone was like, oh, well, guess what? I saw a picture of him burning the American flag. 10-second Google search will tell you that that was AI. That was AI generated in the days leading up to the Super Bowl to cause problems. It's a verifiable fact. You can look that up. Then you have people going, he should be slapped with fines from the FCC because of his filthy language. I'm going to read you every filthy thing he's ever said condensed into one so that you assume that this is how all his songs sound. It would be like cutting up parts of this podcast so it's just me being like, fuck, bitch, ass, snot, boobies. Then you're like, is that all he can say? And because Spanish is the second most spoken language in the country, the FCC absolutely would have fined him back to the Stone Age if he didn't change those lyrics. So verifiably, he cut out chunks. He did like backmasking and stuff like that. He cleaned up the act for the halftime show like any English speaker would have to do too. So it's just one after another. The fucking lies on this guy's name. And the more I think about it, I'm like, I cannot figure out why. Other than the fact that this is a brown man, it really does, I think, come down. And this is not like, this shouldn't be news, but it really is like a naked and ugly display of racism when you get down to it. Like the criticisms, the other criticisms do not hold up to scrutiny. I'm sorry.
And I think it's a pretty like healthy amount of, kind of a, I don't want to say homophobia because I don't think he's gay. I think he's
not.
So, but he wears dresses and stuff. So it's like whatever the phobia is of, the particular things that Bad Bunny does where he wears dresses sometimes. I don't know I don't want to put the wrong label on whatever that is, I guess. But, I think it's people seeing someone like him being like just totally comfortable with himself. Comfortable enough to wear a dress because he just likes the way it looks, and thinks he looks great in the dress, and it's like, that's perfectly fine. But I think when people see somebody that comfortable with themselves, maybe they don't want to necessarily wear a dress, but there's something they wish they could do to express themselves more in some other way, and they feel like they can't do that, and so they see somebody able to do that, and there's just a resentment. It's like when you've got a lunch, you brought a lunch from home that's just, you're not happy with it, and someone walks in with a beautiful like Jersey Mike's sandwich, and you're like, God damn, I wish I had that instead. And you resent them a little bit for not offering to buy you one as well. And I think there's a little bit of that attitude that goes into it, whether they acknowledge that or not. I think that's part of it. Is anytime you see somebody expressing themselves in that way and you've never done that, and maybe you wish there was some, maybe again not exactly like that, but some part of yourself you wish you could express and you can't, and you feel like you can't, that sort of thing breeds resentment because you're seeing what you wish you had.
I think that's a kind of a really excellent point. Is like someone who has the audacity to be that free. And I don't mean that in a way, like, a lot of people fall in the trap of being like, any homophobe is just closeted gay. I don't mean it that way. I just think like the audacity to just be yourself and be free for whatever reason. Personally, I think it's just like, it's a high fashion choice because you're a handsome, stylish dude like that. You can pull it off. It gets people talking. I think it's one of those fashion choices that doesn't, and I could be wrong and he can tell us, but I don't think it's meant to be a finger in anybody's eye. I think anyone that like felt like this was being politicized created that narrative in their own head and ran with it. I'm sorry. Like the music podcast, why are you guys getting political? Because I feel like I'm in a unique spot because of the other component of this. The other one, not to besmirch the name of Bob Weir, rest in peace. But obviously, like, the other side of the coin is what went down on YouTube, the alternative entertainment. And I use the term entertainment real loosely.
The pre-recorded entertainment, from what I understand.
Correct, with tons of glitches and lip syncing. And if your problem with Bad Bunny is he said, I mean, I don't know if I have to bleep this on YouTube, but he says like "culo," then
Yeah.
like, so like that's off limits. Don't let your kids see that. But let's have Mr. Robert Ritchie, Kid Rock, get his ancient shellacked ass up there. Ladies, young ladies, I like them underage. See, you call it statutory, but I call it mandatory. Come the fuck on. And for then the excuse to be like, well, people can grow and change.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, unless they're your enemies, and then they don't seem to. And they
Yeah.
seem to be condemned by anything they ever said.
Yeah.
I like to call it the Crybaby Bowl and the Pity Party were the two little monikers I made to amuse myself because I was forced to watch this. I had to watch the halftime show on my phone
Ugh.
because
Yeah,
the
that's
people we were watching with had children and didn't want their kids to see Bad Bunny, and they put TPUSA on the big TV.
and it's funny because Bad Bunny, I mean, there's some ladies twerking, so like maybe
Whatever.
maybe that part of it wasn't, depending how young they are, I guess. But like I can't imagine watching, and there's people at work that watch the that listen to like Brantley Gilbert, Lee Bryce, and like that kind of country, and just cannot stand that kind of stuff. And it's just funny hearing about, knowing Kid Rock. Like we had that CD that we had out at your camp for years that we would listen to, and that had some absolutely heinous things that he wrote in those songs. And it's just funny how because he came over to their side, and it's like there's a dearth of talented individuals whatsoever on that side. They're like, they take what they can get, and what they could get was Kid Rock. And then they just have this like cookie cutter version of a country singer. It's like I couldn't tell you a Jason Aldean song from a Lee Bryce song from a Brantley Gilbert song. Like I could not tell you the difference, and I don't think there really is one. And I think that's exactly what those people like about that music, is because it just, all it does is reinforce what they already want to believe. And they just talk about, Jesus, guns, the Bible, their trucks, their loyal dog. And it's just like it's just a form. It's been AI music since long before AI existed.
That's a very fair point. A very fair point. And I will be honest, the musicianship of Lee Bryce and Burr Gilbert and Scrabbly Boo and whatever their names are, the has-beens and the never-weres. I realize some of them, like if you have people at work that listen, they're probably popular, but you have these people. I can't say it was like bad musicianship or a train wreck. It was painfully bland and boring, that kind of country. But if it's the kind of thing that you like, if you're the kind of person that likes that kind of thing, it's the kind of thing that you like.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. It didn't really like suck tank until Kid Rock. That was a fucking embarrassment. But I look at it and it's like, if you want to have your alternative, that's fine. But now who's politicizing what? Because TPUSA is a political organization.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you do on that show is endorsed by your organization. So when you get, and I don't know which of these assholes it was, but one of them got up and had a song where he was like, and little girls can't be little boys. It's hard to be country in this country. And I'm like, you got everything you wanted. Your man is in charge. You control all three branches of the government. You're getting everything you wanted. What the fuck are you complaining? What the fuck are you talking about? Are you smoking crack? It's infuriating because it's like Bad Bunny, it's a political pick. No, it wasn't. He's going to be political. No, he didn't.
No.
He said the most like peace and love message you can get. Yeah, well, then I guess I better be the one to bring up the trans people. It's fucking nonsense. And I'm like, look at the different lessons that these are teaching. Now I understand, like you said, there were some butt cheeks hanging out in the Bad Bunny one. We've all been there before. So if you don't want your kids watching butt cheeks, like, okay, I get that. That's fair. But this idea that it was going to be some like someone like he was going to sit on stage and read Marx's Das Kapital
Yeah.
start to finish, and then like eat his own shit, and then like draw a pentagram in blood. Like he didn't do any of that stuff. It was just fun. So like, what's your issue with it being in Spanish? You go to now, not that these people do it, but you know, people go to the opera and it's all in fucking Italian or French or German or Russian, and you don't need to speak it to get the context. It's part of the charm, quite frankly. So, I mean, what's the big fucking deal? What's the big fucking deal? I don't get it. There have been years where they've I'm not that into Usher. So Usher does the Super Bowl halftime show, and for me, I'm like, meh. But I didn't go off and start my own little fucking pity party about it. It's just, it's kind of an insane thing, and the politics of it for me like really overshadowed the
Mhm.
spectacle before and after the fact. But in the moment, like watching the show, that was kind of where like the dam burst and you got the release, because it was just fun, relatively inoffensive. Again, your butt cheek mileage may vary, and it ended with a powerful message, and it was entertaining. His
Mhm.
music's still not necessarily like all the way my kind of thing, but it is more appealing than most trap I've listened to.
Mhm.
He probably made a ton of new fans off this. It was good for everybody involved. The bitch is manufactured. The bitching
Yeah.
about it is manufactured.
Yeah. And the moment, I don't know if you saw him like seeing Roger Goodell afterward, the commissioner of the NFL, and the way that Roger Goodell greeted him, it was like he was very happy to see him. Like you could tell it was like a very genuine, he loved having Bad Bunny do that show. And there's if Roger Goodell is happy about that, that means the owners of the NFL were happy about that show. So like whatever anybody has to say about that show shouldn't happen or anything like that, it's like there's a lot of people with a lot of money that stood to lose a lot if it was going to be too political. If they really felt like it was going to turn enough of you chuckle fucks off that you'd stop buying tickets and stop buying jerseys, they probably would have said, no, we can't have this guy do that. They heard about him, heard about what you were saying about how we want to go international with the NFL and how there's a huge market for it available in the Caribbean and in Mexico and overseas in Europe. You know, like this is the kind of thing that they're going to do that. So whether they're happy about it simply just the business sense, I think you could do a whole lot worse than someone like Bad Bunny, because I don't think he's ever going to do anything that's truly offensive. I don't think he does not strike me as the kind of guy that's going to ever do anything controversial in like a bad way, in a way that's going to get you heat for like keeping him employed or anything like that. I think he is a great ambassador for that type of music, because I never probably would listen to that. I never would have maybe even heard that kind of music if it wasn't for Bad Bunny, being popular enough to do that and being in these other movies and these other projects. So like this is, I think, while he is already global superstar, I think we are just like tip of the iceberg on what Bad Bunny is going to do in his career.
I 100% agree. And I, I think when you look at if you want to take the kind of crass view, it was good business for the NFL. It was good business for the owners. It was good business for Bad Bunny. And, no one is a monolith, but that if he had made a political stance, like if he had burned the American flag right there on live TV, no one knew he was going to do it, and he just torched the fucking thing. Then he becomes a monolith to the other side, and they go, see, we knew it. And this is and then he's kind of like
Mhm.
indicative of bringing all Puerto Ricans down. And it just like reinforces that whole ugly narrative. On the other side of the coin, he kind of stands alone in like making this statement about how we're all one. So now no one's being singled out for a negative reason. It's everybody together.
Mhm.
It's the literal fucking dream, or should be, of any society, is just like we're all getting along and not like killing each other.
Mhm.
So I look at it, and the outrage wing constitutes 4% of the NFL's business, 3 to 4%. The people that tuned out, like either didn't watch the game at all or tuned out at halftime, if you go by the numbers of like who watched the TPUSA pity
Mhm.
party, it's 3 to 4% of the people that tuned in for a record smashing Super Bowl game.
And who
So
knows if all those viewers of the alternative halftime show were even actual viewers.
correct. And I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt in this crazy country and say, hey, maybe that is all authentic. Maybe those are unique viewers. But at the end of the day, the fraction of what they cost the NFL, which was nothing,
Mhm.
and the fraction that they make up in the country, because it's like 39% of the country doesn't watch the Super Bowl. So, there are all these different numbers that people can try to like bend to their will. But when you look at it, the bottom line is, hey, good for you, TPUSA. You got millions of people. Do your own alternative show. Literally nobody gives a fuck who's in whose head. You're not in ours. I know I've been ranting and raving and foaming like a fucking lunatic, so it suggests otherwise. But I'm just so sick of the discourse around, like, if you're just like a sane person standing in the middle of it, all these whacked out opinions and these falsehoods and these lies, you can't help but get whipped into a lather. But I am an individual for the most part. It seems like it's the good guys. It's the meme of Don Draper in the elevator with his subordinate who's like, I hate you. And he's like, I don't think about you at all.
Don't think about you at all, baby.
It's great.
Yeah. Did you have any other thoughts about the excellent halftime show by Mr. Bunny?
No, I'm sure I sounded like enough of an asshole for the last however many minutes.
No, I think we'll find that most people will be in agreement on this one, because almost everybody I've talked to that watched the halftime show loved it.
Well, and to that end, not to like belabor the point, but if you disagree, if you have a firm reason why, like, here, let me articulate why I have a problem with it being all in Spanish. But like, you can't just be offended. You have to like
Yeah.
come with receipts and explain yourself. And it can't just be one of these like, well, in the Bible verse, blah, blah. No, you can't just make sweeping proclamations. You have to tell me why it was a problem. And I will respect that. The spirit debate has turned into a someone's got to win, someone's got to lose, when really the spirit of debate is almost like masturbatory. You're going over the issues, and it's not about walking away with a win unless you're doing debate team, debate club.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at William F. Buckley and Gore Vidal, that was not about winning. That was about like, okay, the two sides are kind of articulating, and you're watching for it's a sporting match. So if you want to do that in the comments of this video. If you're interested in this kind of thing and you want to see more like this, and you want to see what we got up our sleeve next, you will subscribe to the channel. You will turn your notifications on by clicking the little bell, so that when the next time we peddle some outrage, you'll be the first one in line waiting with your torch and your pitchfork. And we welcome you for that. So give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And again, the comments is where the magic happens. If you can give a cogent defense of why you did or didn't like some aspect of it, you like TPUSA, you didn't like Bad Bunny, if you have some articulate thing to say, we welcome it. But if you just go in there and are like, but Bunny, you're toast, dude. No one's going to take you seriously, and you're going to miss everything cool in life. But you will not miss the cool stuff at youtube.com/C/out on that line if you subscribe today.
That was beautiful. And folks, listen to the man. Go subscribe. Go comment. Let us know what you want to hear next. Until next time.